to Chandler from the north. All the debris from the tornado. The day after. You can see in the distance, you can see the school, the Chandler High School. There's a power line down. Wires are across the road. Metal wrapped around the post. Another look at that. Crops all taken out. Just driving along the road. Waiting. Something. Coming up on
This is Wilk's place. Tops of the silos. Oops. There we go. Here we got Wilk's silos.
the Chandler High School. This is the Chandler Water Tower. This is the last of the old Chandler Reformed Church. Somehow the house fell into the basement and this trailer ended up there too. This is still great Grandpa Buttup's old house. Flatten the tricycle. This is from Grandpa Buttup's place to Floyd Gregg's house. Great Grandpa Buttup's house.
That's what the old lumber yard used, and Pete Prince used it for storing grain. We hope it's filming.
That's supposed to go first in mobile homes, and that stayed.
That's just... How many tornadoes were there?
I don't know. They said 5. But I don't know. That went so great.
Nobody was out there.
I sat in with Jenny Banser in the basement for about 5 minutes, then I got out again because the worst was over. I had to see what was going on, but I couldn't see nothing first. Such sheets of water flying. And then as soon as it let up a little, and then I said, oh boy. When I sat in the basement with Jenny there, I heard a lot of noise. I said, well, there goes the trailer, but it's still there. But my son's farm, that's all gone. Yeah. Yeah, where I used to live. That's all gone. Yeah.
Centennial. Gonna have to start all over from year one again. Work up to another Centennial.
This is the hill the kids always wanted me to take them up and then go down the other way and into the valley. So.
There's frozen food, frozen chicken out of the deep freeze. Just sitting on the grass there. Pile of tin behind me. Is that Dick Ryder's old place? New old place. Uncle John Butoff is helping, giving a helping hand. It's starting to rain out. That's what's left of the bathroom. turned over on the other side. A lot of damage done in Chandler yesterday. We were in Edgerton, didn't even go down the basement.
Okay, that's all Pete Princess now, and you turn this way, you got Pete Shell. Let's sneak through the alligators.
Rid of the trees right up out of the ground.
This is still Pete Shell.
Just one big mess. This was Pete Crechel's. You can see how it just dug right into the roof. Wraps right around the chimney, the tin does. There's Brant Kroon's house. That was the Earth home. All along here was houses at one time. This was where we would come out. When we would go up the hill, we'd come back down this side to get onto the valley road. There's nothing left. Wait. This is that Earth home again.
Okay,
Here's the dead animals from some more. This was the cement plant by Chandler. This is where the building was. And I assume that tin was the building. This is Casey Lelakis's house. Everything went to the first floor.
This is his business place. They're still doing
This is business. Just keep driving.
Look at the tin right around that truck as you're going there.
I got everything. Just keep
Okay, now
driving.
stop it.
And this place. And I'm zooming in to the dishes in the cupboard. Dishes are. Thanks, Mom. Dishes are still in the cupboard. They're uprooted.
Coming up for the appointment shop.
This is Bernard Coyman's shop.
See that pickup as you're going there? You see the pickup standing there with the
And here's the bins again. Cement foundation here that we're coming up on was where Mom's grandpa bought up his store. It used to be a nice house with a rock front. Somewhere along here was Ann Latterman's trailer house. And there's Ann Latterman right down is the Chandler Bank. They're already putting the roof back on. High school. This is the other end of Main Street, the east end of Main Street. All the construction work being done down there. John Mullama's house? Jenna? This is still just all in town, Chandler. Going in to get something. The National Guard. This is Uncle Jim's house. This is the front of Uncle Jim's house. Jim's house.
Don't laugh about it because they'll say, look at there, she's happy it's happened.
No. She's happy she has a house.
Yeah, right. That's what I said to her last night. I said, man, just because.
Outside city limits, you see so many farms hurt, and it's more than just homes. It's the livelihood of the farmers at stake. The clouds hang heavy over southwest Minnesota today. Funnel clouds like this one still threaten the communities already in shreds. But outside the small towns is another story of destruction. Farms north of Lake Wilson are leveled. Bruce Hurd has 300 pigs trapped under what's left of his barn. He has no idea what he'll be able to save.
Well, depends on the insurance and how many pigs we save, and I don't know. Start saving what's alive first, and that's what we're doing now, just trying to save what pigs I can. We've got 95 out of there so far, and there's about 50 on this corner again, so.
On the edge of Lake Wilson, the farm blew right into town. The tornado set this hayrake right in Mayor Neil Gilbertson's basement, where his wife and daughter were hiding.
I just can't believe it, man. It's just a couple minutes, everything is just gone. My car is gone, the garage is gone, the house is gone. But we got each other, and that's the main thing.
Not even the rains and winds today can stop the spirit of these people. They just keep cleaning up, picking up the broken pieces of their lives.
When you don't have anything is worth saving.
Bobby, I talked briefly about the spirit of the people here. It's just incredible the way they're reacting. They're working hard to clean up, and they're generally in good spirit.
Vernon, I understand the lieutenant governor was in town today.
That's right. Janella Deerstead was in town. She came in to assess the damage, flew over many of the communities in a helicopter, and we'll try to tell you more about that at 10.
Okay, thank you very much, Vernon Brown. As for that funnel, the National Weather Service says it was probably a cold air funnel. They don't usually touch the ground. At the time it was spotted, the service tells us conditions were right to spawn cold air funnels.
In Chandler, the National Guard is keeping an eye on traffic and trucking in fresh water. Residents are starting to return to their homes and finding out what's left. Kelloland's Jay Trobeck shows us how the day after is going.
The picture of devastation needs no description. The Tinkleman family had been huddled beneath the table in the basement when the storm hit.
Your ears just popped. Your eardrums just popped, and all the small windows in the basement shattered, and that was it. It was just gone.
Jason's car had been parked here in the driveway. It now sits atop a hill half a mile away. More than 20 homes were completely destroyed. Others are severely damaged.
We've got a house left. Kind of.
There's been talk about consolidating Chandler Lake Wilson High School with one of the surrounding communities. Mother Nature just moved up the schedule.
It may happen more quickly than people had planned.
So now the cleanup begins, with no electricity, no water, no phones. Community leaders met early this morning in a darkened church to talk about the future and how to deal with the mess.
If everybody brings a truck in, we're going to have one great big traffic jam regardless of what we do.
The National Guard is limiting access to the town. There's just so much work to be done.
Okay, look at the stuff up in there.
Yep.
Swirling around up in there.
It's getting bigger.
Please don't come here. Oh, holy cow. Holy cow.
What took this tornado only seconds to destroy will take an entire town months to rebuild. Jay Trobeck, Helloland News, Chandler, Minnesota.
36 people were taken to hospitals from Murray County. 20 were treated and released. Miraculously, there are no reports of any deaths.
While Minnesota is where most of the injuries are, South Dakota has hardly been skipped. From flooding in the northeast to tornadoes in the south-central part of the state, a series of storms hit hard. Today, Governor Mickelson took to the skies for a look. Helloland's Steve Irvin takes us along and tells us what the state is doing to help.
Firsthand. That's right. Eyewitness news crews have been all across the area, and they've been in the hardest hit areas trying to cover the cleanup efforts. We have reports tonight from the 3 hardest hit regions. We begin in southwest Minnesota, where the damage prompted a visit from the Lieutenant Governor. Terry Manning reports.
The whole town's gone. I don't know if it'll ever be the same.
The people of Chandler are welcoming all the help they can get today in their cleanup efforts. Members of the National Guard, the Department of Transportation, and neighbors from all over southwest Minnesota have converged on the small town to lend a hand.
I got mess on the odor too, but I'll clean that up later.
The same skies that ushered danger yesterday played host to Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor today. It's hoped her assessment will speed relief to the area.
Well, we have to evaluate what's available, what the needs are, what insurance the people might be able to receive. There's many, many steps to go through, but we're here to look and see what the situation is so that we can evaluate that.
For now, insurance companies are the sole source of financial relief to property owners. But even with 20 years as a catastrophe adjuster, Howard Sable can't believe what he's seeing.
2 years ago, I worked at a big tornado that went through southern Illinois and Indiana. And it was no worse than this. This is probably as bad as I've seen.
The scene is pretty much the same here in Lake Wilson, just a couple miles to the north. And the people here, like their counterparts in Chandler, are just happy to be alive.
Everything is gone. But at least we still have each other, and we are thankful for that much.
For the people in southwestern Minnesota, it's now a matter of faith in one another and the powers that be. Terry Manning, Eyewitness News, Chandler, Minnesota.
Colton residents spent most of the day sifting through what's left of the east side of their town. As Nancy Nave reports this evening, the tornado may have destroyed homes. Rescue teams. Health reporter Alex Strauss talked to some of those people today and has some information on storm injuries. Alex?
Well, Kevin, yesterday's storm hit with such speed and intensity that unfortunately an awful lot of people weren't able to get to shelter in time. Those who didn't were faced with flying debris, downed power lines, large hail, collapsed houses, and so it's not surprising that a lot of people were hurt. Some of the first to see that damage, not just to the towns but to their residents, were rescue teams from area hospitals. A team from Sioux Valley on their way to Slayton saw what had happened in Chandler, Minnesota, and radioed back for the hospital to get ready.
There's no trees left at all, houses, apparently what we could tell from the air, been pretty much cut off of the foundation. And when our crew saw that, I think they were expecting quite a few very serious injuries because of the amount of damage that there was down there.
The same team was called to Pipestone a little while later, where most of the serious injuries were treated.
There were some fractures, there were some hip injuries. Everyone was covered with mud. I mean, there were lacerations.
Now, all told, 25 people were brought into the hospital in Pipestone. Most of those were from the Lake Wilson and Chandler area. 6 people were admitted there, and later 4 people were transferred to Sioux Valley Hospital in Sioux Falls. One of those people is still in critical condition here. Another is in serious condition. Murray County Hospital in Slayton saw 14 people and admitted 7 of those. And further west, the Chamberlain Hospital treated 7 people from Fort Thompson. 2 children were kept there. So all in all, a lucky night in that nobody was killed, but certainly a very dangerous evening for anybody in the path of that storm. Kevin?
Yeah, that's true. Alex, I know the Red Cross has been hit hard by this too. How well are they fixed to help out?
Well, unfortunately, not real well, Kevin. Just a little over a week ago, we were telling you about the desperate financial situation the Red Cross is in, and of course the storm hasn't done anything but make it a whole lot worse. Red Cross Director Mark Schultz says it will cost about $250,000 to meet the immediate needs of the people affected by the storm here.
To make sure that the people are taken care of and that there's a place for them to sleep and begin to put their lives back together again.
Now, some of that money is going to come from the National Red Cross, but they do need your help, and if you would like to help, you can send your donations to the Sioux Empire chapter of the Red Cross here in Sioux Falls. Kevin?
Okay, Alex, thank you. Again, Alex Strauss reporting live for us from our newsroom. Kelly?
The cleanup from the storm has additional health risk for the residents of Bridgewater. A tornado hit a Cenex building there last night where about 2,000 gallons of herbicide are stored. Now, a dike in the building held the chemicals overnight, and agricultural officials are transferring the herbicide into containment tanks. The McCook County Civil Defense Director says at least 2 funnel clouds touched down in that area. He says the situation might have been worse if there had been more.
News at 10. Tonight, we have more pictures and more stories from the storm.
And in the middle of all that weather, there's another puppy mill raid in South Dakota. But first, the recovery from the storm.
Good evening. It's the calm after the storm, the time when everybody affected by last night's tornado starts picking up the pieces of their homes and their lives. The cleanup in Chandler, Minnesota is a massive task. There's nothing left of what used to be a housing development on the west side. Town leaders met in a church early this morning trying to plan Chandler's recovery. Some families have a lot to recover from, their homes swept away in the swirling winds.
Oh, yeah. You could hear the wind. Just about sucked us right out of the basement.
Up the road in Lake Wilson, people searched for their belongings blown right out of damaged homes. Those who live there are dealing with the shock of the weather disaster.
I don't know. I can't believe this is happening. I mean, everything. We had all these trees. We started, you know, from the beginning.
It'll be days before power and phone service is restored in Chandler and Lake Wilson. Fresh water is being brought in by truck. The damage in southwest Minnesota looks the worst in the small towns, but you can't forget the farmers.
At least 23 farms in Murray County are severely damaged. Some have lost everything, barns, houses, and garages. Here at Bruce Hurd's farm, his hog operation is completely demolished. 300 pigs were trapped underneath the remains of his barn. He has no idea how many he'll be able to save, but as of this morning, he had to kill about 50 of the severely wounded hogs. Hurd says he has no idea how much the tornado has cost him financially. South Dakota Governor George Mickelson says the storm is the worst he's seen.
Tonight, we look back at some of the pictures we find unforgettable.
Wow. The trees are just ripped. Every window on the north side of the house. Wow.
I'll be 65 on Thursday, and I've never seen anything like this.
And my husband said, we got to get down the basement. It's coming right at us.
I'm getting wet.
Call Karen Lenutka, 4061. Tell her not to take a ride.
Everything was just making so much noise, you don't really think. You just sit there and just kind of pray, I guess.
House is gone. We're lucky to be alive.
I was sitting close to a wall, and the wall disappeared, and the next thing I knew, I was laying on the ground, outside.
What did it feel like?
There was no sensation at all.
Widespread.
The stuff up in there.
Yep.
Swirling around up in there.
It's getting bigger.
Please don't come here.
Good evening. We don't have a watch or warning in sight tonight, just starry skies. A stark contrast to last night at this time when residents from one side of Kelloland to the other were watching their lives and their property flash before their eyes. Our weather radar looked like a pizza with everything from mid-afternoon till the middle of the night. In some cases, our reporters and photographers and engineers just happened to be in the right place at the right time, depending on point of view. Tonight, we bring our people in from the storm. They can speak not only as reporters, but in some cases as near victims as wave after wave of foul weather rolled across us from the Missouri River into Minnesota. When it comes to news coverage, luck was on our side when the storms hit. Trying to stay ahead of the storm, Kelloland's Jay Trobeck was on his way to Brookings. When he got word about Chandler and Lake Wilson, tornadoes had struck. That put Jay on the scene before any other TV news people. It was immediately apparent this was a major disaster.
Well, first of all, we better apologize for the communications, but phones are down all along here. There are no communications, basically. Cell phone's the only way we can get out, and we are being hit with still another thunderstorm. More rain is coming down. The town of Chandler has been hit perhaps even harder than the Lake Wilson area. Devastating damage all up and down the town. Trees, homes, windows, roofs, everything has really been hit. The only good news is we still have no reports of any deaths in this area.
As we say, there's no sign of life whatsoever here. There is no lights, no power, no phone, no anything. It's just like a ghost town, nothing but us and the electricity in the air. That's about it.
Well, Jay, I understand that's one of the problems. There is no electricity in the lines, and NSP says it's likely to remain so. How are people coping with that?
Boy, I tell you, Steve, everybody has left here. Everybody has been ordered out of town, as a matter of fact. They have roadblocks set up, so everybody's pretty much out of here. There's nobody here except you and us.
Jay Trobeck is with us now, and Jay, it's obvious you were caught up in the situation as much as the story. What were your impressions when you heard about this and rolled into the Chandler Lake Wilson area early yesterday evening, late yesterday afternoon?
Well, the first thing that we noticed was that freak kind of damage that you see only in a tornado, the way that the homes were damaged, the type of things like the turned over cars and heavy pieces of equipment overturned. When we first got into town, the first place we went was to some of the housing developments and saw just what the damage was to the houses for some of the people along there. On the western edge of town, there was quite a bit of damage in the Lake Wilson area. The tornado seemed to clip the western edge there where there was all of the homes. You can see that all kinds of equipment was turned over, all kinds of roofs were torn off. Take a look at that. We've got wood sticking right out of a roof. That was a scene down one of the main side streets, and that is where a triage was set up. They had ambulances coming in from all over southwestern Minnesota, and that is the area where they prepared to take people away in those ambulances. They checked for injuries to determine who was the most injured, who had to go first. It was really a model of cooperation between all the various organizations.
Almost a first aid setup.
It was.
Beyond that.
Similar to the sort of thing you'd see almost in a war, because that's basically the way it was treated, and that's the way the people felt about it. You can see some of the houses were torn right off their foundations. I have no idea where the roofs and things ended up. Law enforcement was on the scene. The problem was there were so many communities that had been hit by this thing, so everybody was stretched a little thin, but to the credit of all the people in that area, everyone seemed to obey and know enough to stay out of the way and get out of the way of the emergency personnel.
Now we get a look at Chandler, which is just down the road from Lake Wilson. This twister seemed to follow a path right up Highway 91.
It did, and when it got to Chandler, one of the things it did was topple that telecommunications tower right onto a parking lot full of cars. That's right across the street from the Houston Meat Company, and that's one of the major employers in town. Significant damage, especially on the western side of town. Again, that is the path that it took through the Chandler area. That is a new housing development we see on that hillside. All of those homes were completely obliterated. This morning, the National Guard was deployed to try and limit traffic into and out of the area and to watch out for possible looting. A meeting was held early this morning in a darkened church involving all of the community leaders trying to map out some type of plan, some way to get things organized for the cleanup, which is going to be taking some time.
And a darkened church, not as a religious observance, because the power hasn't been on since the storm hit.
That is correct, and that's just one of the inconveniences. This is Chandler Lake Wilson High School. You can see the upper level taken right off. The cleanup is underway. Numerous tree branches. We saw trucks coming into and out of the city all day long. The residents slowly started to come back in, and it was not a pretty sight. Your heart has to go out to the people who were affected by seeing their homes and their lives destroyed in a moment's notice by that tornado.
And the best view of any scene, I think, is from the air or when you can get shot from on high.
And that is where you can see the true path of the storm. As it cut from the southwest to the northeast in a direction, it took it about 19, 20 miles, something like that, I think is what we figured, tearing the bark off the trees and things like that. That is where we saw the damage. It was just an incredible sight for everybody who was there.
Okay, do we have aerial shots now, or...?
Yeah, let's take a look at those. Okay. You'll be able to see the western side of town once again. The helicopter is flying pretty much in the direction that the tornado took. basically flattening everything on the western side of town. The western side of town is a little bit higher than the eastern side, and that made it easier access, made it a better target, we should say, for the tornado. You'll be able to see some of the freak things that you see in a tornado. Trucks in someplace they shouldn't be, quite a ways from where they were parked. The trees just shredded like toothpicks, basically.
A lot of times a characteristic, and you see it from the air, straight line winds, things are just almost windrowed, laid flat in one direction. When it's a tornado, things are all over the place, as we see here.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, KELOLAND's Jay Trobeck, the first on the scene of the Chandler Lake Wilson tornadoes. Now, one tornado eyewitness had his camcorder rolling. Home video. Jeremy Van Nieuwenhuizen lives on a hill on the southeast corner of town. He watched the western side of Chandler disappear.
Look at it blow there by Clark's. Holy cow. Just get right there. Yeah, no kidding. There it is. There's a tornado. Oh, boy. Awesome, isn't it? Massive? I don't know where it's heading, but it's the outside of it is hitting us. I hope that's all that hits us. Ooh, this is pretty bad, though.
We better go down basement.
Getting
That's
bigger.
real bad. Look at the stuff up in there.
Yep.
Swirling around up in there.
It's getting bigger.
Please don't come here.
Oh, holy cow. Holy cow. That ain't very far away at all. I'm getting kind of nervous here. It's just about going right over our heads right now.
That's daring. As we said at the beginning, some of our people almost wound up as victims of the storm themselves, trying to cover it. Bobby Lauer is one of the people who got caught in the storms in southwest Minnesota when the second wave came through last night. At least the second wave. Bobby, what did you see?
Well, photographer Kevin Kiergaard and I arrived in the Chandler Lake Wilson area about 8 o'clock last night. It was not dark yet, but it was going to get dark on us fairly soon. Now, we have some pictures. Anyone who knows of the area remembers that there is an abandoned air base there. And if you look at these aerial shots here, you'll see coming up very soon, this is the air base. And it's on fire, obviously. We got on that a little bit before that. This is what it looked like just as we were going into town. It was starting to storm again, as many storms went through the area that night. We saw a big lightning strike, went over the hill, and this is what we saw, was that it had started on fire. And obviously, this is much earlier than the other video. This is what the skies were looking like as the night progressed. It started getting darker, and the lightning started getting more and more intense. This was a little bit, I suppose around 9 o'clock, I would guess. And as I said, there were many storms that moved through the region. One of the things that Kevin mentioned is that he had never seen lightning like that. I told him I'd only seen lightning like that one other time, and that was during the Rapid City flood.
You lived in Rapid City.
Yes, I did, and went through that. So the lightning was similar to that. Obviously, the situation was very different, however. One of the things what happened to us is we got into trouble actually very innocently. We were planning on heading out of the Chandler Lake Wilson area and going over to Pipestone so we could check on the injured that had been taken over to the hospital there. And that's when we drove right into the storm, that we got caught in anyway. As we were driving, it was starting to get dark out. The only way you could see was when the lightning was striking, and when we'd see the lightning would light up the sky and we could see the wall cloud. We decided we finally had to turn around because we couldn't drive into that wind anymore. So as we turned around back quickly, we looked back up in the sky, and the wall cloud was on the other side of us. It had passed over us that quickly, so that's how fast the storm was moving. Kevin took his foot off of the gas pedal, and the car continued to go at 55 miles an hour because the wind was pushing us. He thought it was hailing, but you know how there are those little pebbles on the side of the road? Those were all being brought up and hitting the car. So we knew there was a lot going on, the things don't normally come up. They usually are going down. We finally drove into a farm area because we saw another car pull in there. And we knew we weren't safe there either. The roof was starting to come off the silo. It was a very scary situation.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Bobby. Well, in the middle of the worst of the stuff in southwest Minnesota late yesterday, a dramatic rescue near Lake Wilson. Rescue teams tirelessly worked to save an entire family, including an 18-month-old baby, after their car was picked up and thrown by a twister. The tornado dropped the car down into a muddy field 200 feet from the road. A woman was ripped out of the car even though she was wearing a seatbelt. She was plastered with mud and found 50 feet from the vehicle. For well over an hour, rescue workers cut the car apart, trying not to hurt the man and child trapped inside. The man was pulled out of the mangled vehicle first, and rescuer Steve Schultz was able to get hold of the baby's car seat.
Loosen it enough so that it was able to slide out. I guess you might say the feeling was one of birth, maybe.
The baby is in good condition tonight at a Pipestone hospital. Mom and Dad are in serious but stable condition. When we come back, we'll see the storm damage in South Dakota, including some new video from Fort Thompson. And Vernon Brown will be joining us with what he's seen in the rural areas around Chandler and Lake Wilson, Minnesota. Stay with us.
At Terry Schulte Automotive, it's our auditor's inventory reduction.
But today, KELOLAND's Vernon Brown checked on the countryside in southwestern Minnesota. There are fewer targets, but they still got hit. Vernon?
Steve, like you said, we're talking an awful lot about the damage in town, but there's so much outside in the country, too. Tornadoes hitting here and there and scattering farms. In fact, in Murray County, the sheriff's office estimates that 23 farms were severely damaged. So it's just interesting talking to the people because there's so many stories out there. Why don't we take a listen to a couple stories from people in the Lake Wilson area?
And when we heard them call for help, we knew it was bad. And so we shoved Tiffy on the floor and we piled on top of her and prayed. That's about all you can do.
Tell me today, where do you even begin?
I don't know. I can't believe this is happening. I mean, everything. We had all these trees. We started, you know, from the beginning, and I just can't believe it. Man, just a couple minutes, everything is just gone. My car is gone, the garage is gone, the house is gone. But we got each other, and that's the main thing.
Just got done cultivating. I put the tractor down there in the machine shed, and the wife hollered out at me that had come across, my brother's a first responder, came across his scanner that there was a tornado in Chandler. We headed for the house and down the basement, and heard some glass come out of the house, a big bang, and it was all over.
This is Bruce Hurd's farm right here. His barn collapsed on 300 of his pigs. There were pigs running all over his farm. Here, neighbors and relatives are helping him clean off the barn. I think we'll go in here for a tight shot. You can just see the pigs, the little pigs running around underneath the building. This is inside Bruce Hurd's house. Their house wasn't leveled, but as you can see, it's a mess. The windows are broken out. Everything is dirty and wet. They don't know what extent of damage they'll have there. Like I said, the people are the most interesting part of this. Everywhere we went, Lake Wilson and all over, they just were willing to talk about it, which is surprising sometimes. In a natural disaster, people want to bring the boundaries in around them and not talk to the media, but people were very open with us here. Here's a house that it just peeled the walls away and left the clothes in the closet and the furniture right there. Here's another one in Lake Wilson where a hay rake ended up right in the basement, and that was
the mayor's house.
That's the mayor's house, and in fact, his wife was who we were talking to earlier, and they survived. Power lines down all over town. They don't know when they'll get power back. This is a business that they're cleaning up. Everyone was pitching in today. It's just remarkable. People coming in from all over. In fact, the traffic became a problem sometimes, Steve. They had to keep people out of the way, and they were, for a while, limiting it to just immediate family coming into the towns.
Now, these aren't necessarily tourists. These are people who are coming to help.
A lot of times. There were some problems with tourists coming through, sightseers, people taking pictures. They want to save it for their scrapbooks, their history, too, and be able to show their grandchildren what it was like. But the destruction is just undescribable. All day, people were just saying it's unbelievable. They're almost numb from it. Here's more cleanup of the mayor's house. They're just going through everything. Things that are broken, they're just picking them up because, as Judy Gilbertson told me, when you have nothing, you pick up everything.
All right, thanks a lot. KELOLAND's Vernon Brown, who was in the rural areas around Chandler and Lake Wilson today. Back in South Dakota, at the early part of the storm, one of the hardest hit areas in South Dakota is the Fort Thompson area. It's also been one of the hardest areas for us to get information about. Here are the latest pictures shot by KELOLAND commercial photographer Phil Heckenleibel this afternoon. Phil happened to be in the pier area on a commercial shoot when he heard about what had happened. The twister in Fort Thompson circled the main part of town, but landed with both feet on a housing area on the edge of Fort Thompson. Of the 7 people hurt, 2 children remain in the hospital at last report.
Being fly by. So I told my sister, I said, Ella, we better run down to my mom and dad's. And just when I said that, the trailer house went over. And it was just like you were in a dryer. It just kept going and going. And my niece was standing beside me, but she was gone. And rain was just coming down in buckets, and that wind was so strong.
The visitor center in Fort Thompson took a heavy hit as well. Well over 18 homes are damaged or destroyed in Fort Thompson. Several steel power line towers also toppled in that storm. Again, the miracle that nobody is seriously hurt or even dead. Minnesota had the most injuries and the worst damage in terms of buildings, but in Kelloland, the storm started in South Dakota. Kelloland's Rick Huffman was the first on the scene after the storm hit north of Mitchell. Rick?
Steve, start off with, you had a couple of pretty cocky news people running out there yesterday. Photographer Scott Frederick and I are on our way out to Mitchell, and we're saying, we're going to get us some tornadoes. We're going to get some terrific shots of tornadoes. By the time we came back last night, between 8 and 9, we were praying that we wouldn't see any tornadoes. When we first really understood how serious this was all going to be, was one of our Kello TV engineers, Dwight Woolman, was coming back from Pier, and he was on Highway 37 traveling south out of Woonsocket. And this is what Dwight saw and heard, and this is what we heard from Dwight.
Are you okay? Is it still blowing? Yeah, it's blowing. Yeah, it's just windy and I can't see 20 feet.
And I backed the back end of my vehicle into the wind because it was hitting the windshield so hard I didn't want that broken. And I was laying low and didn't realize it until I was getting hit in the back of the head with some hail. My back window was busted out.
Steve, there was so much hail on the ground that this is what we saw when we first got there. A fog laying over the ground, what I would imagine like, I've heard descriptions of English moors with the fog just laying close to the ground. Hail in some spots 2 or 3 feet deep. This is the Larry Rummel home, about a mile or so off of Highway 37 to the east. All window damage, and they also lost some of their tame geese to the hail were killed. The damage we saw ran about 12 miles long and 3 miles wide on a northeasterly line through Davison, Sanborn, and Minor counties. Now that right there is hail. That's not hail laying on top of mud or ground. That is hail 2, 3, 4 feet thick with the water running right through it. We eventually ran into Sanborn County Sheriff Tom Fridley. He sent us up near Fedora. And the pictures you're going to see now are about 2 miles east of Fedora, south of Highway 34. And that is where we met a gentleman by the name of Howard Fish. It was suggested by somebody that we drove by, told us to go see Howard. Howard had his house totaled by this tornado. This is, as again, just south of Highway 34. Howard tells us what happened at about 4:30 yesterday afternoon.
You see, I had been watching it rain and some hail coming, and I thought, the way things was looking, maybe I better get my shoes back on. And
Howard lost his home, his barn, his hog shed, and garage, but he says he didn't lose any of his livestock, although most of them went running when the storm hit and knocked down the fences. I think I'm talking right over Howard there. We've got more of what Howard has to say about all this when we come up. He had some family and friends come over to help him pick things up, and he didn't lose his sense of humor through all of this as well, as you're about to find out here.
Somebody said you got knocked out.
No, I didn't. I don't think so. If I did, I'm still out.
What you gonna do now? You gonna move down the road, or?
Oh, I think maybe I'll go to Hollywood and start up a little franchise of some sort.
However, around the same time that Howard Fish was tossed out of his home, what we think was a tornado touched down north of Howard, ripping through the Ron Carlson farmstead. Farm machinery, a truck there that you see, trees, and this power line, they're all crunched or shredded. And still, for the most part, though, it seems like the crops and the outbuildings received the most damage in the rural areas. It appears that it missed the cities.
Okay, thanks a lot, Rick. This storm brought not only tornadoes but floods as well. One of the worst areas hit in South Dakota is the Northeast, where more than 17 inches of rain fell in a period of just 24 hours in some places. Let's take a look at Watertown, for instance. Now, parts of Watertown are prone to flooding when we get heavy rains, but I don't think it's normally anything on this scale. But here you see it, kids playing. It takes almost a four-wheel drive pickup to get through. Again, this is video from yesterday afternoon, early yesterday evening in Watertown. Residents we talked with, this is Clear Lake flooding now, and here you can see it's after dark by the time things really got wet there, but they also have a very big mess in the Clear Lake area. Now, residents we talked with told us it happened surprisingly fast, within a couple of hours sometime last night. Between 7 and 9 o'clock, dozens of homes filled with water, riverbanks and lakes overflowed, spreading into farm fields and causing millions of dollars of crop damage across KELOLAND. KELOLAND Steve Irvin covered the cleanup for us today. Steve?
For dozens of miles in Duval County, there is nothing but water. Temporary rivers and lakes have formed where fields and homes used to be. When the water started coming in last night, friends and neighbors gathered to try to save Vince Parker's farm. There was nothing anyone could do. Parker has lived here all his life. In 2 hours, it was all gone.
We waited out into the driveway to get out of the house. We got 6 kitchen chairs out that our boys give us a couple of years ago for our anniversary, which is the 22nd of June. That's what we got out, and the clothes on our backs.
The Parkers, like most here, are not insured for flood damage. The waters left people all over town trying to salvage family pictures and memories.
No life, that's the main thing. Could be worse.
Governor Mickelson spent most of the day touring the area by air and land, along with other areas hit hard by tornadoes. Mickelson says relief is on the way.
Purpose is to make sure that we pull all of these programs together, but mostly they will be federal, although there are some state programs such as rural rehab money and so forth that we might be able to help.
If there can be good news in all of this, it's that few were hurt or killed, at least in South Dakota. People still have each other, but for some, that's all they have. Steve Irvin, KELOLAND News, Duval County.
Television really doesn't justify the vast destruction that a flood creates. I've seen floods dozens of times. I'm sure lots of people have on television. And you just can't imagine what it's really like unless you're there, unless you can actually see it. Seeing it on a small screen like that, you can't see all of the water and all of the destruction and how many people it really affects. Earlier today, we got a chance to go up in the National Guard helicopter. This is the same helicopter that Governor Mickelson used to survey damage in 4 or 5 different areas in South Dakota. You look down on this patchwork of farms and small town homes, and you see what look to be lakes and rivers, but they're not lakes and rivers. They've just kind of overflowed the banks of other rivers, and you see football fields submerged. You see buildings sitting in the middle of all these lakes and rivers. It's really quite a sight when you see this vast amount of water, the size of an entire town, really.
Now, a lot of people have been caught short without insurance in this. What do they do?
Well, a lot of people have been caught short, and the reason for that is because normal homeowners insurance doesn't cover a lot of these things. So a lot of people have found themselves with thousands of dollars worth of damage. They've got to clean it all up themselves, and they've got to salvage what they have left because there is no insurance. This is a farm just south of Clear Lake, and you can see the line on the wall behind that woman. That's where the water was in the home. That's how high it got in that home before it drained out of the home. This is another place with no insurance, but you can see that dozens of people came to help, and that was what was really amazing, is the resilience of all the people in this situation. All kinds of people came to help out and really aid their neighbor.
Thanks a lot, KELOLAND Steve Irvin. We'll continue our special report, In from the Storm, with a look at the storm itself. Where does something this big come from when we come back? The weather experts. Is it volcanoes? El Nino? KELOLAND's Dave Hahn tells us just how this storm came about.
They're called supercells, large thunderstorms that feed on themselves, frequently and repeatedly producing severe weather. Even on radar, it's a sight rarely seen, even by the National Weather Service.
At least the people around this office think that this is the biggest one that they've seen, biggest organized system that they've seen for about 10 years or more, maybe a decade.
To put it into perspective, Kareen says a winter storm of this strength would have dropped 3 feet of snow, not to mention the blowing and drifting. But describing this storm is one thing. Explaining its origin is quite another.
El Nino may have something to do with it. I'm not an El Nino fan, so I really don't know, to tell you the truth. But basically, we had one very organized, large system that is very intense for this time of year come in the West Coast, and we saw it come in the West Coast, and we've been following it for several days. But you need several ingredients to come together to end up with storms like this, and we weren't sure if they're all going to come together, but yesterday morning early it started to look like, yep, here it comes.
Amazingly, the storm hasn't killed anyone. Obviously, early warnings played a crucial role. The National Weather Service in Sioux Falls issued its first statement at 5 a.m. We passed those early warnings on to you during Good Morning Kettleland at 6:30 in the morning, a process we repeated over and over throughout the day and night.
It's nice to know that we may have saved some lives.
Dave Hahn, Kettleland News, Sioux Falls.
Bouncing back from attacks by nature is not a new experience for people who've chosen to live in Kettleland. Just a week ago, we marked the renewal of Rapid City following the Great Flood 20 years ago. But last night's storms no doubt sent chills through the residents of Tracy, Minnesota. 9 people died when a tornado destroyed that town on June 13, 1968. Even the ruined tree left as a memorial is now gone. Even our film has disappeared, but the memories rekindle easily. One Tracy resident we talked to today remembers that storm. He tells us that people there still get pretty nervous when the whistles blow. But Tracy did recover. The towns that fell victim to yesterday's storms, like Tracy, will recover. In this case, the people will recover too, but for all of us, it'll be a night to remember in from the storm. Stay with us in the next days and weeks for stories of recovery. But for now, good night.
GMC truck built America.
We're back in Chandler again. This is Grandpa Buttough's house. You can see that not much damage was done at all. The antenna is off the roof. And that's about all. He says he can't find any more damage than that. Take you around back in just a minute here. This is day 2 of the cleanup, June 18. and I'll take you around back. This is the back side of Grandpa's house. There's the antenna on the roof. It's about all the damage that he got done. Now, take you down. Notice. Plants are still standing. Chairs are still there with the cushions on them. And there's another plant still standing on the whatever you call that thing. Take you back up to the neighbor's roof. That's about all the damage he did. All the damage he got was the same thing, just the antenna off the roof. However, we'll take you across the street here. There's the neighbor's antenna there. But look at what happened here. Whole side of his garage just ripped out of there. And look at all the shingles off the roof. That's just right across the street on the east side. The west end of town is the part that got hit. And this is east of Grandpa. Yeah, Grandpa didn't receive much damage except for just... This is the church down the street from Grandpa's place. People spent the night here. Salvation Army set up. Blue Cross set up. The church kitty corner from the Christian Reformed Church. Across from the Reformed Church. I've been corrected.
This is the Lutheran Church.
This is the Lutheran Church. A lot of cleanup has taken place already. And I'll take you across to show you exactly where the Reformed Church is. And there's the Reformed Church. Part of the town that we haven't seen yet, that I'll be taking you through today. cleanup in front of Jim and Ann's house. As everyone can see, Grandpa Butt-Up is still walking around. This is just down the street and across the street from Jim and Ann. This is Jim and Ann's cleanup again.
Walk that way.
John Bice's house.
Cutting down all the trees. What nature didn't cut down, anyway. It's a Lutheran church again. And down the street, all the cleanup. This is Harold DeCam's mother? Yeah. Mother-in-law. Pete DeCrace. Road to Leota, and here's a line of trucks coming. Look like they're going to Chandler to help clean up. There they go. This is a farm place by Leota. know. This is on another farm place here by Yoda. This is 2 days after the tornado, so a lot of cleanup has already taken place. afternoon.